72. Coming in at 68, Jordan Love. Here's how his season looked on paper last year, Brew. Went 9-6, 25 touchdowns, 11 interception passer rating. Give it 97. 1-5 in division games. That's not great. What was your reaction to J-Lo's placement? You sometimes are a J-Lo guy, sometimes you're not.
Well, this comment didn't get the expected response from you guys before, so maybe you didn't hear me. A new twist on J-Lo.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't.
What does that mean?
It means he's lower, like higher,
Yes. Yes, it was
lower than I expected.
Yes, you took a cut and missed, and then you were back up 0-1. Now we're down 0-2. Protect the plate here.
I will say this.
With just total crickets. We didn't even know. It's one thing for a joke to bomb. Another thing, we didn't even know it was a joke.
Didn't even know. But go ahead, Brew. Sorry, Brew.
This time next year, J-Lo will be much higher.
Closer
His
to one.
rank will be
Much
closer
closer
to
to
one.
one.
Much closer to one. Banged up a bit last year. I think most of the year banged up. I expect a big year. Matthew Golden, all that. New receiver they have. But I am surprised even still that it's this low. And I'm wondering what quarterbacks are going to be ahead of him.
Well, that is the most interesting part of this.
Throwing alley-oops now.
Because, so here's the deal.
Talking to J-Lo?
Last year, there were 16 quarterbacks on the list.
Okay, so
The year before, 14. The year before that, 14. The year before that, 11. The year before that, 13. So the average is 14, 15. Now, maybe last year was a sign of things. There's already been 4 on there. I think when I say a
10 or
name,
11.
So Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, Hurts, Daniels, they're all definitively on there.
Goff.
So, well, hold on. Stafford, Baker, Goff, CJ.
Definitely on.
Definitely on. That's 10 guys. So that would put us at 14. I have not mentioned Justin Herbert.
Definitely on.
He's going to be
Definitely on. Which brings me, so I think those 11 guys are going to be ahead of
quarterbacks
him.
on this year.
That's 11 guys ahead of him. I have not yet mentioned one Brock Purdy. So if I'm just saying, I haven't mentioned Geno either, by the way, my guy.
Geno will definitely be on.
You think he's definitely going to be on? I don't know.
So.
I am nervous about Geno. Now that Geno hasn't been listed.
Okay, let's keep it on Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, because I also know that they, Bo Nix has now been ahead of him and whatnot, and so there's obviously going to be a lot of quarterbacks on this list now, the most that there ever has been, and it's just like, okay, that makes sense. Listen, I actually went back last night and I was watching highlights from the Green Bay Packers in 23, specifically with Jordan Love. And I was watching random games, and then, of course, I watched one of the best games that I've ever watched in my entire life, and I really, truly, sincerely mean that. Cowboys and Packers playoffs, wild card round. That game is still, to this day, one of the wildest games I've just casually been like, oh, great, playoffs, can't wait, I'm going to watch it. And I just, am casually watching the game and just realizing what I'm witnessing is just insanity. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me between those games in 23 and what we saw this past year was really what I had said about, I didn't even realize how stark it really was, but I kept saying throughout the season, last season, that it just felt like everything was so much looser with the Green Bay Packers and with Jordan Love, that it felt like they were playing on ice. I just didn't see everything feel buttoned up and fine-tuned and in rhythm and on time. Everything just felt, there was just this looseness to it. And that's what kept standing out to me throughout the season. And again, I'm not going to, go into all the arguments, but I defended why Jordan Love had the season that he had and why the Packers had the year that they had. And that's all well and good. And I'm not here to kind of, rehash that. But it was such a stark contrast of this is what we saw out of Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. This is what is truly possible. You don't just lose that ability. It doesn't just vanish for you. Yes, the NFL is littered with players who have been great for a season or so, only to like never recapture that. But like I always emphasize whenever addressing that, and I haven't had to in a long time now at this point, more often than not, it's a quarterback that really just catches someone off guard, or there's hyper mobility and speed or physicality to their game that definitely caught people off guard. They were with a great team for just like 1 year, or they had like an amazing O-line or an amazing run game or amazing weapons or an awesome offensive coach. Like there's something that you can really kind of tie it together. Or there were plenty of plays that like could have gone poorly, could have gone the wrong way, but it just so happened that we were watching the season where none of those things went wrong, right? We saw everything go right instead of go wrong. And so you could see why things now kind of took a turn. But even quarterbacks who notoriously had a great year, MVP level year, like a Carson Wentz, or most recently like a Derek Carr, and then only to just like never get it quite right. I am incredibly confident that if Derek Carr actually found stability and actually was coached correctly and actually went to a high quality franchise like the Green Bay Packers with Matt LaFleur, would easily have way more success, would easily be a year after year after year top 10 type quarterback. Like Derek Carr was actually incredibly talented, but not good enough where he could just overcome no matter what situation he was in. And so he was in a pretty good situation for like a hot minute, and then he just wasn't, right? And so he was never able to quite get there. And the Packers and Jordan Love do not have that problem, with just for the fact that it is indeed the Green Bay Packers, an incredibly highly run franchise, as well as Matt LaFleur. Now, again, there's plenty of room to grow, and I want to see Matt LaFleur continue to grow and evolve as a head coach. But the same thing goes for Jordan Love. I really punt last year and just say, okay, whatever. I'm focusing on this year right now more than anything. And I think it's fair to drop him because I want to see those things more. It's why, I want to see there be repercussions for how you're playing year to year. Even if you're banged up, even if your team's not that great, that's what makes it fun, man. That's what makes it fun. Like, there's really no justifiable reason why a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes would still be one when over the last couple of years he clearly has not been the best quarterback. And so I hate when those lists are just the same year after year after year. There would be no reason, even someone like a Brock Purdy, who was really hot in 22 and 23, and I still think did pretty good, but like he should drop. But even though there was injuries and there's that, Jalen Hurts, he should rise, even though he was on a great team. Like you gotta have mobility. Otherwise, it's like, well, then what's the point? Seriously, like what's the point if everyone's just like all up in their thoughts and feelings and everything's just solidified? Then just retire the list. Just retire the list. Doesn't make any sense. And I don't want that. That's incredibly boring to me. When Sam Darnold was balling out last season, was playing really, really well, people kept trying to fight up against him. Like, well, he's really not that good. Look what he did with the Carolina Panthers. And it's like, I don't care what he did with the Carolina. Look what he did with the New York Jets. I don't care what he did with the New York Jets. What was that, practically a decade ago? Who cares? I see him balling out with the Minnesota Vikings. That's all I care about right now. That's all I care about. And it works both ways for someone like a Jordan Love, who was amazing, who was essentially the best quarterback in the NFL in that 10-game stretch in 23. And then 24, even though he was injured, even though this roster was a little bit banged up at various times, had some high moments, definitely had some low moments that you can't just explain away by like, well, he was banged up, injuries. Like, no, they were just not the best decisions, whatever it may be. And that's totally okay. That's totally fair game. And so that's why for me, it's just like, I'm not going to come here and just be like, this is so insulting. I can't believe he's so low. There's not, because I do think he is below team. I think he is wrongfully below other quarterbacks that are clearly going to be ahead of him. I mean, and we don't know exactly what the full list is going to be, but I assume like some of the names that they were saying, that I think that's not right. I don't think that's fair. And we'll have to just, before I start kind of naming names, I just want to kind of see like who else is, who else is listed right now. But we can, since they even kind of transitioned into a Brock Purdy, to me, it's like, I absolutely believe that Jordan Love has shown a higher ceiling than Brock Purdy, but I will also say that Brock Purdy has shown higher levels of stability and consistency that we have not seen out of Jordan Love. And that's just the reality. And again, we can explain it away, we can defend it, whatever it may be, but it is just the cold reality. And so, yeah, someone like Brock Purdy should get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt in terms of if you're trying to figure out who would where do we rank someone. But like, if I was forced to pick and be like, all right, I'm going for a home run shot right now, like who do I want my quarterback to be? It's like, right, like you'd be hard pressed to not want to pick a quarterback like Jordan Love. But if you're like, I need stability, I need someone who's going to play some high level ball, I got a great coach, great roster, everything's taken care of, I need someone who's just going to be able to wheel and deal and execute the offense as I envision it, it's like Brock Purdy's certainly going to be your man. And I just listened to a podcast where Shanahan kind of discussed his coaching philosophy, and it was a masterclass. I'm thinking about making a separate video about it, but it was someone, basically what he was kind of talking about, where he's like, I do all the thinking for my quarterback. I want to make everything as simplified as possible for my quarterback. I'm the one that's trying to do the chess moves. I'm the one that's trying to figure out what plays to call, what the defenses are doing. That's my job. I want my quarterback to have to think as little as possible and just run the offense. And that is Brock Purdy in a nutshell, and that's pure perfection. I have never seen Jordan Love necessarily do that. And that's a key difference. And I do want to see Jordan Love be able to do that. I do want to see Jordan Love just execute Matt LaFleur's offense as he envisions it, and just keep it very straightforward, and just hit the layup, home run, layup, home run. Like, that is what I want to see. And we saw pieces of that, but even in 23, it was pretty much just like home run. I mean, like, he was doing things where you're just like, this is wild. But I want to see the other side of the coin. Once I see that other side of the coin, I become infinitely more confident and feel infinitely more secure in a quarterback like Jordan Love, because now I know he can do everything. And I am a firm believer on you needing to be an elite game manager to be a special quarterback. That I am a firm believer on that. I will not budge on that at all. And that is an aspect that I want to see Jordan Love do better. Even when you have an injured roster, even when you're a little bit banged up. And that's what I highlighted when they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. It was like Jalen Hurts was not fancy in that game, but he managed that game perfectly. Jordan Love did not. And if Jordan Love managed the game like Jalen Hurts did, the Green Bay Packers absolutely could have snuck out a win. And I'm not blaming Jordan Love for that loss, but that did highlight something that Jordan Love undeniably has to grow and get better at. And that we even saw that a little bit throughout the season. But when it was time for the fireworks, when it was time for the excitement, like, he absolutely can deliver in a way that we haven't even necessarily seen a Brock Purdy do. So that's why these conversations always get, increasingly more complex, especially once you start adding more and more, quarterbacks and seasons under their belt to try to figure out, like, how do I make sense with what I'm seeing? But, long story short, I think it's okay for quarterbacks and these positions. I'm not going to get too hung up on that, because I want to see them move. I want to see these numbers kind of go up and down. Otherwise, then it's just like, come up with your top 10 and it doesn't matter what anyone else does. And then that's it. And then it's just the same thing every single year. I don't want that. I want there to be consequences, both positive and negative, for how you perform year to year to year, and not constantly just rely on what we saw a couple years ago, or what we believe your potential to be, or, you had a great roster, you had a bad roster, you were banged up, you were not banged up. Like, I want to factor all this stuff together, but it's like, I still want to kind of keep it into the present day. For me, that's the most entertaining to me. And that's what this is all about. It's all about entertainment. If you're not entertained, then it's just like, then what's the point, right? There's no benefit to like reaching the true answer as to like, should Jordan Love be ranked 68th or be ranked 35? Like, it's like, if it's not entertaining, then there's no point. So that's just how I interpret it. That's why I don't really, hang too hard to it, because also, like, Jordan Mailata, I think was number 69, and it's just like, okay, like, I don't know how you start mixing quarterbacks and position players, and like, how you figure that all out. Like, to me, it's a mess. We can all pretend like we have any idea how to make a list like that. Like, John Middlecoff was asked this question in a mailbag the other day, and I'll end it here, where someone was like, okay, if every single quarterback was available in the NFL, for a draft, and it was the exact same order that we had this past draft, like, how many quarterbacks do you think would be picked in the first round, And John was like, probably like the first 10 to 15 picks would be quarterbacks. And then it's just kind of like, once you start to maybe get to like the Tuas or the Darnolds or whatever, like, what's better? Do you want Jamar Chase or do you draft like Sam Darnold? Because you need a quarterback, obviously. Like, you need a quarterback. And then it's like, do you hope that you get those other quarterbacks like in the second round? Like, it's a fascinating thought experiment. But we just know how wildly important quarterbacks are. And it's like, if you were drafting, when I look at a number like this and you were drafting, I am 1000% not drafting Jordan Love with the 68th pick, I'm certainly going to be drafting him significantly higher than that. So that's why I'm not going to get too hung up on the numbers themselves and really just use it more as like a jumping off point to kind of just discuss what's the general consensus about how we feel about said quarterback and not get too lost on the exact number or even the order itself. But those are just my thoughts. Hopefully that all made sense. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love being ranked number 68? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's too low, too high? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.